Good Monday morning, comic book fans, and welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. And fans, you're back with me, Mike Spider Slayer, getting ready to do the countdown, episode number 117. That's right, everybody. This week we had a total of 11 comics to talk about. Not too many, as it was another slow week this week. However, next week is going to be pretty big. It's going to be at least, I want to say 19 comics, at the very least. So very big week. Look forward to that countdown next week. But this week, it's only 11. So let's get started. If you're not familiar with the countdown, guys, this is the show where I count down my least favorite comic and make my way all the way to the top spot while giving ratings and showing you the comic and telling you what the story was about. So maybe it helps you make a decision on what comics to buy in the future. So, all right, guys, let's go ahead and get started. Just to let you know, there was no horrible comics this week. Maybe just some average ones and certain things that I may not disagree with in the books. But the first thing that I wanted to talk about, and this was number 11, was Transformers issue number 45. Very cool cover here as we get to see Jazz and Jetfire and Cup, and it's just all the classic characters that I truly love in the Transformers universe and that I grew up to. And I want to love this series so much because it is my childhood and I should be reading Transformers. However, the problem with Transformers is that it's a universe that's very hard to understand, and if you have not read, I feel, since the beginning of a series, you're not going to really know what's going on. There's a lot of political things that goes on in the Transformers series that has to do with Cybertron, how the war is over, how Optimus Prime is considered a god and he's not a god. Spike is all grown up now. He's got this beard. He's just an old man, and it's just like, wow, everything's so different. And yet there's the war is over and there's supposed to be this truce, but everybody is on edge. So there's a lot of political stuff that goes on in the universe. But in this issue, we find out that there's this man, I forgot his name, and see, this is the thing. These are all the characters in the book, and I'm just like, whoa, who are all these guys? But his name is Garrison Blackrock, and he has this Cybertronian code that gives him the power to control the like Cybertronians. And so in this issue, we wind up seeing Jazz and Jetfire and Cup go after this. They're trying to find out what's going on with this code, and they wind up coming across this big zombie combiner that's controlled by this guy, that scientist Blackrock. And Spike is trying to listen in on what's going on, and there's just all kinds of crazy stuff that's going on in this book, and I'm just like, I kind of feel lost. It's cool, but it's kind of over my head because there's so much going on within the issue. However, your characters are really badass in this book. Again, we have RC and Soundwave in there. Galvatron is in there. And it's just like you feel like there's a war about to break out once again between the Autobots and Decepticons. But at this point, I kind of don't know who's good, who's bad, who wants peace, who's the leader. Like, there's so much that goes on in this series. So this is something that you might want to catch up and trade and start from volume 1. So after reading this book, I feel that it's a very good book, but I feel it's very hard for new readers to jump on. So I'm going to just give it a 3 out of 5 stars. Great artwork. Fantastic. Beautiful. Just reminds me of the TV show. Next is number 10 on our list this week. And number 10 goes to Grimm Fairy Tales 2015 Holiday Edition. Now, this is one of those books I actually forgot about that was in the store. I didn't see it in the store. And usually these Grimm Fairy Tale specials are probably like $6 because they're about 40 pages long. And we got a lot of reading this week, even though maybe there wasn't as many comics. Between the annuals and the specials and everything else, we definitely got books that are very lengthy, which is good at the same time, but you pay for them. So in this book, you wind up finding out that Sayla Mather, she's our main character in the issue, and there was these crazy pig-like creatures. I guess they were like the three little pigs, and they wound up trying to put this curse on her to try to destroy her, and and that's what you get to see in the introduction to the comic. Now, there's good artwork in this book. It's gorgeous. I think S.H.I.E.L.D is drawn nice, facial expression wise. You know, attention to detail. Obviously, when it comes to cars, it's very dark, and it fits the grim fairy tale universe in here. And then, so Sayla's supposed to do this speech at this college, and what happens is things go horribly wrong. Everyone is dying one by one, kind of like you expect from a horror movie. And what happens is these people in this school are wind up getting possessed by like this zombie that spits out flies, and each soul that it takes and possesses, it winds up getting stronger and stronger. And here you can see like the first zombie right there, and then like as the issue goes along, it spits out flies and it tries to take a hold of somebody else. So it was really, really cool. Of course, Sayla and some of the other students had to solve this mystery. It was good. However, I don't think maybe it was worth $6. If you do have the extra money, I would go out and buy it. But this is a story that kind of goes back to almost the roots of the original Grimm fairy tale story, where it just had to do with Salem Mathers. So I'm giving this one, same thing, 3 out of 5 stars. So I'll make it up to you if you guys want to go out there and buy that particular issue. All right, so next thing that we'll go on to is number 9 this week. And number 9 is a changing of the hats for this one, because this week we got a lot of the superheroes that we, a lot of the superheroes that we know and love. So I feel like I gotta, kind of fit the role a little bit, and that was number 9, which is Superman issue 44. Now, we all know the changes of Superman, how he's been losing his powers a little bit more each time, and in this issue, he admits that he's not getting certain powers back. And in this book, drawn by John Romita Jr., who's obviously not my favorite artist, I feel like he's just good for independent comics, and I don't think he's good for our superhero comics that we've known to read every day. Here's his artwork, which obviously I told you again, I'm not a fan. But Clark does this battle against this Royal Flush Gang in the beginning of this episode, and then he finds out through a police report, when the police were apprehending the Royal Flush Gang, is that there was a hostage situation, and it had to do with Perry and all the people that he knows and that he works with. And then you wind up finding out that it's like Killer Frost and Killer Croc and a whole bunch of other characters, and he winds up doing battle against these guys. And then what happens is he obviously puts everybody in danger because he's doing battle against the bad guys. He comes across this guy by the name of, I'm trying to remember his name, Dylan, where he blames Clark for killing his wife because he was doing a battle against another superhuman or superpowered villain, and they get into a battle. And so, even though Clark's intentions were really good on solving, on saving his friends and his people that he's known a long time, they kind of want nothing to do with Clark. And you got to kind of feel sorry for the guy because he was just doing the right thing. My thing that I get pissed off about this whole situation is that Superman and Clark have been doing the same thing for years. Even though you didn't know his secret, it's like, why be so mad at him? I don't know. He was just trying to be Clark Kent, and it's just like now everyone hates him, and I can't stand that. I just don't like that. I just think it's dumb. They don't understand that he's still trying to do the same thing. And so what happens is, what does Clark do now? He sits there and goes on camera, and he winds up threatening everybody, and he says, if you hurt my friends and if you go after my family, he's like, I'm going to go after you. And that's, for me, That's not Superman, to go out and send threats to people, whether or not he has powers or not. And so I kind of didn't agree what was going on there. And right away, it's like you see this flip, you know, of who the man he was and now who he has become. And right away, you see him go to the part where we started this whole story, where he was in the hotel and he starts shaving his head, and he becomes the Superman that we know now. And then we still have this Porter Root thing going on. So, you know, there's super elements. There's certain elements in this issue that are pretty good, and then there's others that I just don't agree with here. I just don't feel that Superman, no matter what he's going through, would ever threaten people, because it's not his style. It's not his personality. It's not the way he was raised. And I know he's going through a tough time, but I just don't see it that way. And that's what I don't agree with. You know, I don't like how people kind of hate him now for being Superman, for hiding who he was. But he's not gonna sit there and purposely hurt people. So it was just a weird issue emotionally for me. So, but it was good. It had some meaning in there, and I gave this one a 3.25 out of 5 stars. I just don't like John Romita's artwork, and I think it would be a little bit better if we didn't have his artwork in there. So. Alright, so next we're going to go on to a favorite book that I've just been reading forever. Like, I can't ever drop it because I've been reading forever. And number 8 this week goes to Savage Dragon, issue number 207. Here we get to see Dragon, and we get to see Angel and Dexter, and it looks like they're about to do battle against Mr. Glum and Angel's twin sister right here. Her name's Angel too, I guess, so she's just in Dimension X. Book's written by Eric Larson. It's drawn by Eric Larson. I really appreciate the colors. I love the lettering in this book. I think it's awesome. Just the sound effects in there. It just stays true to what comics have always been in the past. You know, you kind of don't see that anymore. But Eric Larson does a great job at using those sound effects. However, he always has this freaking jaw-dropper pages with sex these days. And right away, you open up the page, and you show little Mr. Glum, you know, doing the deed right there on some dead aliens with Angel. And I'm just like, what is going on with Savage Dragon these days? It's like this super sexual book. I just don't get it, you know? It's just so weird. And it's not the only page that it's in there. He's just having fun. But I guess it's Larson's thing that he feels that he has to do. But however, even though it does show those scenes in there, it's one of those things that it does show the emotional relationship on how much he really cares for Angel and how much he wants her to be by his side. And in this issue, it really explains about how his mission is to take over other worlds and how eventually he wants to take over Earth. And you get to see them trying to take over a particular planet, and then you get this creature called the Awesome Eater that winds up going to eat the planet that they're taking over. And Angel gets all messed up, and she's all mad because they've been working so hard to take over this planet. She feels like there's nothing left. And then what happens is Mr. Glum winds up revealing this big thing that he finds another version of her dead mother and is going to restore her. And that was like her birthday present. I thought that was kind of crazy. And as they're kind of getting into some little bit of an argument, here comes Malcolm, the good Angel, and Dexter to go to Dimension X. So, pretty interesting issue. Didn't suspect the sexual scenes in here. I thought we were kind of past that since 200. He's been really hyping that. He's been really, like, I don't even know how to explain it. He's been sitting there just really showing people how sexual this book has become because Malcolm is at that age and Angel's at that age. So I don't know if it's just that time. Who knows? Crazy kids, you know. I don't know. But after reading that one, I gave that one same thing, 3.25 out of 5 stars. There wasn't really much in-depth story in that one, but it was kind of cool book just to see those two together. So, all right. So next we go on to number 7. And number 7 goes to another changing of the hat. goes on to Green Lantern this week. Green Lantern issue number, or I'm sorry, Green Lantern annual number 4. Now, I've said this in the past. I like this direction of Green Lantern. Do I think it should be a permanent type of direction that the character should go in? No. Obviously, he's going to eventually get his Green Lantern Corps back. He misses it based off of this issue, and I just want to see him back the way he was. But for right now, it's a cool change. He's kind of this loner. He's developed a couple of friends. His spaceship has a personality, and I like that. I was iffy about this one because it says Tales of Hal Jordan, and I didn't want a story that had nothing to do with Hal Jordan currently, but it does. It shows you the story of people spreading rumors about him, about people fearing him, on how he is definitely controlling the universe, and he feels that he needs to be this way so he can survive on his own, because before he always had the Green Lantern Corps. Now, the one thing I don't like about this book is I like how smooth the art is, but I don't like the way Hal Jordan is drawn. He looks like some little elf troll kid, or I don't know what he is, but the artwork in this book was just weird. And again, I did not like the way he was drawn. It just did not fit right. They used other panels in the book, like past drawings of Hal Jordan, like in particular, like right here at the end of the book. That's from old preview page or from a previous issue. I just didn't like that. So it was just lazy artwork, in my opinion, when it came to that part of the book. But again, in this book, you got to see that emotion piece of Hal Jordan trying to be on his own, and there was this story spread on how he took care of his Green Lantern Corps, how he tortured them and didn't kill them because they want him to fear him, and it was spread amongst the entire galaxy, and you get to see that in this book. And then the other portion is, by the time you get to the end of it, you wind up finding out what the true story was, and his motive is, and where he got that story from. And I thought it was kind of cool. And then by the time you get to the end of it, you wind up seeing that this guy here is the one that's trying to go after Hal Jordan. So it was an interesting told story. Artwork could have been better. Again, here's the way the artwork looks. We get to see that really Hal Jordan misses his Green Lantern Corps. He doesn't know where Kilowog is, and he's going to try to find them, and that's his true objective here. So it was a pretty good story. Again, the artwork could have been better, but I was a little bit surprised how I was dreading this story at first, and then it was an improvement. So Green Lantern number 4 annual gets a 3.5 out of 5 stars from me. All right, so next we go on to number 6, and number 6 is the conclusion to X-Men 92 issue number 4, the digital series from Marvel. Why is my hat crooked? Like, look at this. It's all weird. I don't know. Maybe I haven't read this one or wore this one in a while. Anyway, they go against the 10 Sentinel. Thing's got like 10 heads. It's got like 8 arms. It's like all crazy in this issue. And in this book, it's really cool because it actually really shows some serious action. They're going against this 10 Sentinel, and we wind up seeing Wolverine and Rogue and oh my God, what's his name? Gambit wind up breaking free of the Shadow King's control in the issue. The artwork is superb in this book. I really enjoy that 90s style of art, like I said in the past. It's just funny seeing old characters like Shatterstar in there, and it's just awesome in here. But you get to see them all team up with each other, the X-Force and the X-Men. You get to see Archangel in there, and they wind up doing this huge battle against, again, the Sentinel 10 or whatever it's called, and then you wind up seeing the Shadow King go against the Phoenix in the book, and I thought it was really nice. And we wind up seeing Xavier doing battle against the Shadow King, and it was a fun book. I mean, it was a lot of action in there, just a lot of over exaggeration. Look at the big sword, the huge gun. I talked about it before with these huge guns, But it gets even crazier when Jubilee actually does something in a series, and she winds up getting a hold of the huge Cable's gun, and she winds up doing battle against the Sentinel, hitting it in its weak points, and you can see like the gun just gets bigger and bigger. And I love the sound effects in it, like I talked about from old style of comics. And she winds up defeating the Sentinel in the actual issue, and obviously Professor Xavier and the team of X-Men wind up joining up with him telepathically to defeat the Shadow King, telling the reader that this is a team, we work together. It's like the feel-good moment of the day, and that's the way they prevail and they win. And that was the end of the issue. And then you get to see that it continues because it does continue post Secret Wars with Apocalypse in there and the Four Horsemen. So I was like, yeah, I'm definitely on board for the next set of issues on this one. So I like X-Men 92. I think it's a cool book. This is, like we've always said in the past, this is a book that can go forward, taking place in an animated world. And I would love him to have like an animated Spider-Man series as well. That would be really awesome. But this is a lot of fun, and X-Men books are becoming less and less, or there's going to be less and less mutants based off of what's going on in the humans. It's Marvel's way of getting around the mutant thing. So this could be one of the few X-Men books that are still around that you can enjoy with your classic X-Men in there. So after reading this one, I'm going to give this one a 3.25 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed it. Not perfect. It is a little wordy at times, but it's a fun story. The only problem with this is it's $4.99, but who cares? It was fun. All right. So now it's time for the top 5, and we go on to number 5. And number 5 this week goes to 50 Years of S.H.I.E.L.D. Don't Call Her the Cavalry, issue number 1. The cover alone on this book demands a star. I love the cover of Melinda May on here, shooting the guns, the S.H.I.E.L.D. emblem in the background. It's just a badass cover. And this one was written by Jody Hauser, and the art was done by Luke Ross. And the artwork in this book is pretty solid. I love the colors in the book. It makes the book pop. It's just perfect. It fits the style of art in here. And in this issue, we wind up finding out Melinda May. You get to hear her past stories, almost kind of like the Green Lantern issue of how she took out so many people at once, and she did this and she did that, and you get to hear all these over-exaggerated war stories, which made the book funny because she's training these the cadets in the book, and we get to see her hard-ass attitude, which fits her TV persona in the book. And we wind up seeing them doing some kind of like paintball exercise, some hostage situation. And what happens is when she takes one of the cadets to be a hostage, there's something that terribly goes wrong, and all of a sudden you get these crazy robot werewolves that start attacking, or robot wolves. They're not werewolves, but they start attacking the cadets. And Melinda May has to go into action and start helping her cadets and protecting these people. And as you see her defeating these creatures, you get to see flashbacks of certain things that happened. And I really loved the way this book how they idolized Melinda May the airplane that they were flying and whatnot. So it was a fun little one shot in this book, and I definitely would suggest you guys to read this. And there you can see the end of them all discussing with each other on the mission that they just did, and she's like all proud of herself at the end. So this was a good read for a one shot, and I think it was only $3.99. So I definitely think if you want to go out there and buy this issue of 50 Years of S.H.I.E.L.D. This one's definitely worth it. This made the top 5 this week at number 5, and I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. Very solid book. All right, next we go on to number 4, and number 4 goes to a series I've enjoyed from Secret Wars, and that's Ghost Racers issue number 4. This series has been a lot of fun for me. great when you see all these Ghost Riders, different versions of them, racing at the Coliseum, and you have Arcade being the announcer, and it's just a lot of fun. And then in one issue, you got to see the origin of Robbie Reyes and how his relationship was with his brother. So it had good character development within the story that, you know, is not going to matter in the future, but it's a good, solid story to read. The artwork is really well done. It's done by Juan Gideon, and I think it just fits the tone of the book. Obviously, you got a lot of orange in the book because you have to deal with all these like Ghost Rider type of creatures, and they're always racing against each other. And so in this issue, you wind up seeing Robbie Reyes' brother Gabe. He gets thrown into the race because Robbie disappeared, and in order to get Robbie back, Arcade took his brother, and his brother, you find out, is an igniter. It's inherited in the genes, and he gets thrown into the races against all these other ghost racers. And what happens is you get to see all kinds of cool guys. You get to see like this Tyrannosaurus Rex that rides on a jet, and you wind up seeing, you know, all the other ghost racers that you've known. Robbie Reyes does make his appearance back because he wants to rescue his brother, and there's just all kinds of like crazy action going on in this scene. And what happens is they have to take out the guy that controls all the ghost racers, and so they wind up getting a hold of him, and they wind up sucking out his soul. It's this guy right here, I think, is the guy, and I forgot his name. And they wind up sucking out his soul, and once he was dead, there was no way for him to control the other ghost racers anymore. So then what happens is they wind up fighting for their freedom, and they wind up beating Arcade, and it was a really cool ending, and I really loved the book, and I really loved the series overall because there was a great beginning to introduce you to the world of the Coliseum in these races. It was good. Then they go into the character development aspect of it, and then you wind up seeing a third part where, you know, it gets climactic, where Arcade takes his brother, and then what happens is Robbie Reyes winds up going and beating the bad guy. Even though it may be a very simplistic plot, it was a good and entertaining read, and I like that here. And this was a good ending, and it was, you know, great artwork, and I just loved it. It was a fun read, a lot of fun. Where some of the stories for Secret Wars, they just ended, or the ending didn't make sense. It was just a cheap cop out, and I didn't like it. But this one stayed true all the way through. Maybe there was one issue that was a little bit slow, but nevertheless, if they do have a trade of this that comes out, just this story, you might want to check it out. So, really good read. And I gave that one a 4.25 out of 5 stars. All right, next we go on to number 3 this week. And number 3 was a digital book that I read. And this one was from DC Comics. Let me get a chance to load. Nope, that's not it. And that was the Grayson Annual, issue number 2. I thought this was a cool story. It is $4.99. It is annual. There's a lot of dialogue in there. I thought, you know, the cover is a little cheesy. It's like, hey, I'm Grayson and I'm Superman, you know, and I just was like, okay, cheesy cover. But you get to see, you know, how Robin was, how Dick Grayson was back in the day with Robin. You get to see him do this battle against Blockbuster in the issue, and then you get to see really on how Superman and Grayson like really met with each other for one of the first times ever, and I love their interactions with each other. My only thing is that if this was supposed to be years ago, why wasn't Superman wearing the blue underwear, or the red underwear? So that's where it kind of didn't make sense for me, because in the New 52 it was never, I don't think Grayson was ever Robin. So but anyway, yeah, because he was always Nightwing. So it was kind of weird. That didn't make sense to me. But nevertheless, they captured Blockbuster. And then it goes into present day. And we get to see how Dick Grayson's now obviously part of Spiral, that we know. and he comes across Superman again, the Superman that is today. And what happens is they kind of relive the old day that they first met, where they had to go against Blockbuster and a whole bunch of like his little cronies or other gang members. You know, long story short, because this isn't annual, and you kind of get to relive. They kind of relive the days of the old, on kind of how much Dick Grayson has changed and how much Batman, you know, where Batman would think that, oh, he thought that you were different, you were his light to his dark, and there were some good dialogue moments in there, and I had a lot of fun with it. And really, what the issue showed is the progression from where the characters were from pre-New 52 all the way into now. Because, you know, even Grayson announces it. He's like, hey, Superman, it's me, Robin, Nightwing, Grayson, you know? And you get to see these two actually together, you know, side by side, and they're talking with each other. I think by the end of the issue, they team up with Lex Luthor to save the day. And it was a good issue. And again, you really get a feel of how far these characters have come in so many years. And it kind of made you feel with the DC Universe, there was that progression of where they've come from all the way to today. And it just gives you that realization. It's like, yeah, man, the DC Universe really has changed a lot. And where these characters were like 4 years ago or 5 years ago to today. So it just kind of tells you something. It gives you that realization in this issue. And I kind of like that, you know. Maybe it might be not, excuse me, maybe it may not be where our characters, where you want them to be, but you do see where they came from and where they are now and how much they changed. So I kind of like the way they did that in the issue. So after reading that one, I gave that one 4.25 out of 5 stars. It was a good read. I think I'm going to try reading Grayson going forward to see, you know, where the series goes from here. Now that he's kind of back in Gotham and he's teaming up with the Bat family, I want it in its own way maybe to be that Bat family book that we kind of been waiting for. So let's see what happens. All right, so now we go on to number 2. And number 2 this week goes to the Justice League. Issue number 44. This book was pretty cool. Jason Fabok does the artwork. Jeff Johns obviously does the writing in this book. And just the introductory page in here is just like badass. The way the Joker is drawn. And he's just so evil looking. And so, like he wants to just kick your ass, you know. This book had its high points and it had its low points. Good dialogue in the beginning of this book between Hal Jordan and Batman. Batman's like all badass. If you think like Batman was a dick before, he's super dick now. And it's just like he calls Hal Jordan kind of like a loser, that he's never accomplished anything except being a core member. And even though he sits there and tells Jordan that he's not the hero, it's the ring that makes him the hero. And so it was real testy moments there between Batman and Hal Jordan. That's part of the issue I felt for me. A lot of this issue spent a lot of the time just battling, and there was just some banter back and forth between, you know, the characters that were in war with each other. So those parts were like, okay, cool action, but not much, you know, plot development out of that whole story. Then you wind up getting Mr. Negative Superman. That's what I call him because he reminds me of Mr. Negative from Spider-Man. And he starts doing this battle against Lex Luthor because the solar flares or the flares of Apocalypse have really like changed his mind. And it gave him his powers back, but he's just not quite right. And so we wound up seeing a battle there, but it was a very short-lived battle, and hopefully they continue that in the next issue, or we get to see what happens with that. But there wasn't very much that went on with that. We wound up getting to see Jessica Cruz in this issue. She winds up kind of prevailing over fear and uses her will to succeed in this book, which I thought was really nice to see her character, even though it was only one page. And then we wind up seeing this Black Racer character come out from I guess it was the Anti-Monitor. I'm not really sure what was going on there. And what happens is he winds up using the power to forge with the Flash, and I guess it needed a host. And then what happens is it winds up becoming this, some weird version of the Flash, and then winds up taking out Darkseid when you get to the end of it. And it was just a crazy 2-page spread right there. And it was like, wow, that is a great looking page. But you get to see everyone kind of in awe of what happens to Darkseid at the end of it, because he's just literally on the ground, and it was like, wow. And I didn't expect Darkseid to get beat up so bad. I just wasn't expecting something like that. That was kind of out of left field for me, and I kind of would like to know more about this Black Racer and this Anti-Monitor thing. It kind of was like weird, you know? But nevertheless, it was a great issue. And how does Darkseid recover? What do his comrades do to get him back to health? What does the Justice League do? Like, what happens in this? I don't know. So kind of unpredictable. It's a little slow of a series. It gets delayed, but nevertheless, it's a good read. And I gotta give this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. All right. Now we go to the #1 book of the week, and this was an annual, and I really enjoyed the story. And we're changing hats for the last time for the newest hat that Mike Spider-Slayer just owned and bought, and that is my Batman hat. That's right, guys. #1 book for me this week was Batman issue #4, annual. I thought this book was pretty cool. Sean Murphy does the artwork on the cover. I think that's neat. I'm a fan of Sean Murphy's artwork. He has his own, personality when it comes to that art, and it just, look at that face on Batman. He looks like a gorilla, and he's got like these crazy eyebrows, and it's just like the bat ray or the bat hook just like hangs there, it's just there. But this book was really cool because I felt that this really had to do a lot with Batman and what's going on with him right now. Not Batman, but Bruce Wayne. And I call Batman Bruce Wayne because they're the same people, but right now Batman isn't the same person. He's Commissioner Gordon, so that's why I get that confused. But in this issue, we wind up seeing that Mr. Wayne gets his mansion back. He gets Wayne Manor back. It's no more Arkham Asylum anymore. And we wind up seeing that he has this great relationship with his girlfriend. I think it was Julie. And we wind up seeing him getting everything back. All his financial situations are coming back and whatnot. And then what happens in the issue, in short, and I did a full review on this book if you want to check it out, is you wind up seeing that Mr. Freeze, Clayface, and you wind up seeing the Riddler all trick the people that were transferring everybody out to staying in Wayne Manor. So they wind up hiding out in there, and they wind up capturing Bruce Wayne. They wind up capturing Alfred and Julie and everybody else, and they're in Wayne Manor, and they're trying to get information from Bruce Wayne. And Bruce Wayne just keeps sitting there and going, I'm not that person anymore. I am not that person. And the Riddler's doing all his fancy riddles, and he's trying to get this information or whatnot. And as this issue goes along, Bruce is seeing all these hallways for the first time since his accident, and he's seeing all these secret compartments, and he's got to be wondering, what's going on here? And so what happens is Riddler explains to him that, you help Batman, you create all his vehicles, you do all this, and you do all that. And Bruce Wayne, at the end, you wind up finding out that there's still hope for him to come back and be that Batman that we all know. And what happens is he winds up outsmarting the Riddler in the end to wind up destroying the signal blocker from I guess, getting the Batman that is right now, which is Commissioner Gordon, because that's why current Batman couldn't come and save him. So he outsmarts the Riddler, and it's pretty cool to see, I guess you want to say stupid Bruce Wayne outsmart a Riddler. I thought that was a lot of fun, because even though in his, ill state, he still wound up prevailing in the end. So there is hope for Bruce at the end after all this. And it was just a good and entertaining read. Love the interior artwork in this book. I thought it was a lot of fun. And, you know, so far, the Batman books that I've enjoyed the most have been the ones that have dealt with Bruce Wayne. You know, we've gotten to see in this book, we got to see that issue number 43 issue. That one was really good. And those didn't have Robo Bunny Batman in them. So hopefully we will get our Batman back. I'm predicting issue number 50. That's when we're going to get him back. Not sure that's going to happen, but we'll see what happens. And but this is why this one got number 1 this week. It was just a good overall story. A lot of pages, something like 40 pages in there, 449. It was worth the read. There was no separate backup story. It just had to do with the character that you've known for years and the situation that he's going through and maybe how hard of a time that he is dealing with all this. So great book. So guys, there you have it. You've seen the worst, you've seen the best, and then you've seen all that other stuff in between. So now it's your time in the comments below to put what your favorite book of the week was, what your least favorite book of the week was. And fans, this has been the Countdown, episode number 117. And fans, as always, thank you for watching Comic Book Corner 2.0. And until the next comic book review, this is Mike Spider Slayer signing off. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Bye.